back to the channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. Hello, my name's Grace, and I got my little Hot Girls Read Books sweatshirt on that I got for my birthday. Welcome back to my second official reading video. I'm so excited because I love to read and I really want to include more reading / book content in my channel in 2024. But anyways, I feel like I got back into reading in a very serious way last year, and this year, because of my Kindle and the Libby app, my reading has just been exponentially more and more and more. And I know I talk about Libby all the time, but if you're in a country where it's available to you and you can get an e-reader and Libby, highly recommend. So this year I did a combination of physical books, Kindle, and audiobooks, and I want to talk about them. So here is my end of the year book tag created by Sarah Caroli / Destiny Sidwell. I got it from Sarah. I think Destiny created it. But anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so first up is the most disappointing book of the year. I would say, I really wish that I could say Fourth Wing for this, which I listened to, but I was not disappointed by that book because I knew that I wasn't going to think it was amazing going into it. Like, I read the first couple of pages and then was like, nope. And then a couple of months later, both books were available at my library to listen, like on audiobook. So I was like, fine, let's see what the hype is about. I can listen to them at a little bit of a fast speed and just crush it out in like a week or two. Yeah, that was a choice that I made. Anyways, I was not disappointed by that book because I didn't go in with any expectations of it actually being something that I would enjoy personally. So I would say the most disappointing book for me was the first book that I ever read on my Kindle. I was setting it up and I was like, oh my gosh, this app, the Libby app, I have it on my phone already. Let's see if we could download a book. And I just picked the first book that looked interesting out of the ones that were available currently at my library. And it was a thriller and it had really good reviews and like millions of copies sold, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this is so great. I'm super excited. It turned out to be a full-on stinker. Probably the worst book I read this year. No, it definitely was the worst book I read this year. 100% without a doubt was the worst book I read this year. So that was the most disappointing. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. The next question is, what was an underdog book that you read this year? I would say probably just based on like exposure potentially or like popularity. I don't know. I want to say A Little Luck by Claudia Pinheiro. It's a book that was translated from Spanish into English. It was written by an Argentinian author, and I don't think it's very well known necessarily, and it's a book that came out quite a while ago. I mean, not super long ago. I think it was like 2015 that it came out. And I heard Jack Edwards talking about it. I generally trust his recommendations because they're all usually very thought-provoking and interesting books. And I ended up really liking it a lot, but I definitely think it's like a bit of an underdog, especially because it's like a translated work. So in, English speaking places and countries and whatever, definitely not as much of a popular one. So yeah, A Little Luck by Claudia Pinheiro. The next one is an overhyped book that you read. Yeah, you already know. Way overhyped in my opinion. Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. To have my honest thoughts in a nutshell, because I really don't even want to talk about these books anymore, to be quite honest with you, the writing is cringy, the plot is just interesting enough to pull you along, and then in the second book, it's like she's trying to fabricate more issues that don't really need to exist. It's kind of annoying. The plot is stretched really thin, and then something happens at the end of the second book that makes me 100% know with certainty, based on the writing that I've already seen displayed by this author, there is literally no way I would be able to physically get myself to read any of the books going forward, because this, like, I don't want to call it a trope, but it's a very niche thing that has happened, and it's a no from me. So let's move on. A book that surprised you this year, I would say actually probably Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I was not expecting this book to be the way that it was. I was not expecting the little elements of mystery. I didn't really know if there would be romance or not. I just found it to be altogether a far more interesting book than I thought it was going into it. But I knew that it was a classic, so I was like, okay, it might be kind of boring, might be kind of slow, whatever. I really liked it a lot. I liked it a lot more than I thought it would. So that was definitely a book that surprised me this year. The next one is your favorite book couple of the year. I would probably say, without any hesitation, Alex and Henry from Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McCuston. I thought that their relationship was so cute. The banter in that book is so good. I thoroughly enjoyed their relationship. I thought it was so sweet, and I loved that they actually got to be in a relationship for a lot of it, but there was still like, you know, a conflict and a tension that was going on. I don't know. It's just a really, really well-written book in my opinion, and I really loved them as a couple. On a similar vein, the next question is, what is your favorite main characters of the year? And I would probably say, I think my favorite character of the year was Agnieszka from Uprooted by Naomi Novik. That was like really honestly the first fantasy book that I've read since freaking Harry Potter. And I'm so excited to get back into fantasy as an adult. I'm super hyped. I'll talk more about the books that I'm going to be reading next year at the end of this video, but I'm excited to get back into fantasy, and this was a beautifully written book. I'm 1000% going to check out more of Naomi Novik's work, but I think my favorite character this year was Agnieszka because she was very real. I don't know, I thought that the book was written so well, and her character was so relatable and so intuitive and just interesting and deep, even though she was so young. Yeah. Definitely my favorite character of the year. Next question is, new favorite author I have discovered. Probably Emily Henry. And I know that's silly to say because I only read one of her books this year, but if Happy Place has any, you know, indication of how good her other books are gonna be, I just really like her writing style. I love the way that she writes characters. I love the way that they interact with each other and how they interact with things that have clearly happened in their past. The characters just feel very real, and the way that they all exist in the space of the book is so realistic to me and so great. I don't know, it's just, I don't like a book that's too perfect or that's too like, you know, my parents got divorced so I don't trust anyone ever for literally any reason. Give me some depth. Like there's stuff that goes on in your past and your childhood that you can heal from, or that you can partially heal from, or whatever. Like, give me something more. Let's move past Psych 101 and get a little deeper, okay? And I feel like Emily Henry does that really well, in my opinion. The most frustrating book that I read this year, easily The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I literally wanted to stop reading that book 5 times at least throughout, and I rolled my eyes constantly. The payoff was horrendous. I really barely liked anything about that book. The fact that I gave it 2 stars was actually kind of generous. On another note, what was the happiest book I read this year? You know, I read a couple of romances and whatever, and there's always conflict even in a romance, because there has to be, or else the book's not interesting. But I think overall, probably Red, White, and Royal Blue, because it just felt very joyful. I felt like I was the happiest when I read that book during the year. The rest of them, they all had their own like issues. Obviously in Red, White, and Royal Blue there are issues as well, but I just felt happy when I was reading it. So that was my happiest book of the year. And then, what is the best book adaptation of the year? I would say by far, for me, Daisy Jones and the Six. And yes, I listened to normal people, and I know that there's a show on Hulu about it. I haven't watched it yet, but I can already say with confidence that Daisy Jones and the Six was amazing. I mean, obviously they changed a couple of tiny plot things in the book, like from the book to the show, but the fact that they wrote an entire album based off of the lyrics that Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote, that gives it so many points in my opinion. I thought that the show came together so well. It literally brought that book to life. Dare I say, I liked the show better than I liked the book. I really liked the plot things that they did in the book, and I'm kind of confused as to why they changed them in the movie. But besides that, I really, really liked the way that they put the whole show together, and I thought that they did a fantastic job. I was not super sold on the interview style that the book was written in, I'm not gonna lie. But that also might be partially because I was like half into a reading slump when I started it, and I was like, an interview book? Are you serious right now? So I don't know, maybe that kind of colored my opinion of it a little bit, but I thought that the show was fantastic. And then the longest book that I read this year was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and it was 608 pages. Technically, the longest book of the year that I read would have been Fourth Wing or Iron Flame, but I listened to it, so I don't count it because I didn't physically read the length of that book. I just listened to it on like 1.5 speed or something. And the shortest book that I read this year was The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie, and that was 179 pages. The next one is, what was your favorite covers of the year? I would say it's probably between these two, Pineapple Street and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I think that both of these, out of all the covers that I read this year, were like the most beautiful, visually striking, interesting, whatever. The next one is a book that you haven't stopped thinking about. So this is actually funny because it's a book that I actually read last year, but it's The End of the Day by Bill Clegg. I read this last year. I don't know if I talked about it because I think I talked last year in my one other book video. I talked about my top 3 favorite books, and I think I give this one like an honorable mentions because it was like my number 4 or 5 or something. I think I gave it like 4.75 stars, but now that I keep thinking about it, I'm like, wow, it must have been a 5-star because like I feel like I need to reread this book. Like I need to reread what's happened. So that's the book that I actually can't stop thinking about this year. The next one is the cringiest read of the year. I would probably say Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, but I didn't physically read them. They were very cringy, but the ones that I actually read, The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. Are you surprised? Are you actually surprised? It was a very cringy book. It read like a Wattpad. I had to double check that a woman wrote the book because the fact that this book talked this much about like how skinny she was and how booby she was, I was like, did a woman write this? Like, are you okay, girl? It literally was of the same caliber as some of the literal One Direction Wattpads that I read when I was like 14. So again, I'm so sorry, Geneva Rose. This wasn't a good piece of literature in my opinion. And the next question in the tag is favorite book quotes. So I'm going to use my trusty little Kindle right here. The thing that I love about the Kindle is that all of your book quotes are just in a place. It's all in one place where you save them. So that's actually really nice. Now it's just a matter of me actually choosing which ones I liked the most. Oh no. Okay, a lot of them are from Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. One of the quotes in this book that I really loved was, "We are all living at most half of a life," she thought. "There was the life that you lived, which consisted of the choices you made, and then there was the other life, the one that was the things you hadn't chosen. And sometimes this other life felt as palpable as the one you were living." I really love that. I had a lot from Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, but I'm gonna move on through some of the other books that I read. Another one that I really liked was from Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson, and that was, "She knew that all across the city there were girls just like her who had spent their Saturday nights waiting for something to happen, nursing a drink or reading a paperback in a coffee shop or scrolling endlessly on their phones, alone and biding their time until their real life would begin." I just feel like that's such a universal experience for people in their 20s, you know what I mean? And then the last one that I'll share is from one of my most recent reads, which was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. And it was, "People who want to be famous think it's the same as being loved, but it's not. Strangers can only ever love a version of you. People loving you for your best qualities is not the same as people loving you despite your worst." And that one really spoke to me. Not saying that I'm famous or anything, but you know, when you put out a version of yourself online and people just see one video that you made and decide to judge you and who you are as a person, it doesn't feel great. But you know, comes with the territory. And I'm really grateful for all of the wonderful and supportive and kind and sweet and loving people that are all here, which are the people like you who are watching this video right now this far into it. Those people are not here, so they're not listening to me say all of this. I don't care about them. They can be miserable somewhere else. Feel free to do it in my comment section, I don't care. But you guys are the people that I'm really making these videos for, so thank you so much for being here. Anyways, let's keep going. The next one is a book with the most unique concept that you read this year, and that would honestly probably be One Last Stop by Casey McHuston. Although I didn't absolutely head over heels fall in love with the book, I really did enjoy it. Like, genuinely I did, and I would suggest it. I feel like maybe the fact that people hyped it up so much made it less enjoyable for me, actually, which I kind of hate that. But it is what it is. It definitely had the most interesting concept. And I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't really want to spoil it, even though the reveal kind of happens sooner than later. But anyways, and then the next one is a book you would reread. There's a few, because honestly, I give my ratings quite sparingly, and I only give a book a 5-star if I am certain that I will be rereading it in the future. And I only gave 4 books a 5-star review this year, I think, and most of them are actually in the past couple of months, which is really crazy. All the books that I rated 5 stars this year was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, Happy Place by Emily Henry, Thank You for Listening by Julia Whalen, and Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I am sure that at some point I will be rereading all of these books throughout my life. So, the 2023 reading goal reflection and setting up my 2024 reading goal. I have read twice the amount of books that I did last year, and over half of the books that I read this year were in the last 4 months of the year, thanks to my Kindle. I set out a reading goal for 15 this year, and I hit 30, which is great. I kind of honestly changed my reading goal to 30 halfway through the year, but the one that I set out for myself in last year's video was 15, so I doubled that. And let's see, reading goals for 2024. I want to read 40 books next year, physically read. I want to read 40 books and listen and read combined at least 50. I think that that's very doable for me, especially the pace that I'm reading right now, to be honest. The last question of the reading tag is, what will you prioritize in your 2024 reading year? I read that and I literally so badly wanted to say, what will you be prioritizing in the year of our Lord 2020? Guys, why has this become a thing? I need to stop now. Anyways, next year I really want to get more into fantasy. I feel like I vaguely started dipping my toes into fantasy this year, and I really just want to dive right in. So actually one of the first series that I'm going to be reading / books that I'm going to be reading in 2024 is the ACOTAR series. I'm excited to give those a try, and I'm interested to see how that goes. So let me know if you want to see a reading vlog for that series, because I might do that. That would be fun. And then there's a million books right here, but I personally own about 10 or so fiction books, and there's 2 other ones on this shelf that I 100% want to read next year. So I really would love to read at least 1 physical book a month on top of all the Kindle books that I'm going to be reading, so that I can kind of cut down my physical TBR and get rid of the extra books. Anyways, I'm just really excited for next year. I'm excited for more book content. I'm excited for everything in general. And that's pretty much it. Let me know what kinds of reading vlogs / book videos you guys want to see from me, because I'm definitely going to be filming them. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your year if you're watching this when it comes out. Oh my gosh, it's almost the new year. And I'll see you in the next one in 2024. So I'm sending you all my love, because we're all just trying our best out here. See you guys later. Bye.